Welcome back to another episode of Education Closet On Demand. I'm Susan Riley, your host. I'm the founder of Education Closet and an arts integration specialist. And today I want to share with you a really quick tip that I love that encompasses using storytelling as part of an arts integration lesson. So Pixar is a master of storytelling. And those of you who know all of the Pixar films that have come out know that this is absolutely genius. Even their short films are hilarious. And it's because they follow this model of storytelling. And so it's very, very simple. It's this. Once upon a time, there was a blank. Every day, blank. One day, blank. Because of that, blank. Because of that, blank, until finally, blank. That's how they format their whole story. It's, I think, 6 different pieces. That's it. And when you do that, when you frame the story that way, it just naturally flows. So what's interesting is that I use this exercise with students all the time when they're first starting to understand a story arc and how to pull a story together. And so obviously, as we're writing, as we're analyzing different pieces of text, we use this kind of format. And we borrow that from Pixar since it's so wonderful. And really, try it with one of your favorite pieces of writing. It's really interesting to see how that kind of flows together. But then, once we have practiced doing that, we apply that same methodology to our own artistic work. So it doesn't matter what kind of arts form I'm choosing, if it's visual art, or music, or dance, or theater, I still have the students create an arc for their composition using the same kind of piece. So let's do an example of this. If I were using music as an example, this is the easy way for me to start, but we can also do this with a lot of different art forms. I have students create this story of once upon a time there was a blank. So they might fill in like a villain. Every day the villain took a walk. One day, when the villain was taking a walk, he ran into a little girl with a red hood. Because of that, he befriended the red-hooded girl. Because of that, he met her grandmother until finally one day he went to the grandmother's house and ate the grandmother, right? So you have this story arc. We have them fill it in. And then I have my students think, okay, for the first blank, once upon a time there was a villain, how would you represent that in music? What would that sound like? What instruments could we use? What dynamics could we use? Okay, to be able to fill in those story pieces. Same thing, every day he went for a walk. What does a walk sound like? What instrument choices would you have there? Right? And we're piecing together this composition so that once we have the pieces filled in with the instruments, or the sound choices or whatever they've made, then we simply play the composition instead of talking through it. The same could be done with a piece of visual art. So again, we fill in the story arc. Let's use that same piece. There was a villain. Every day he went for a walk. What would that look like visually? Right? How would we represent that? And how could we piece that together both maybe in a storyboard that becomes a stop animation piece that we put together digitally, or maybe even more interesting, how do I combine that into a single composition that tells that story? So when you're pulling these things together, they really are using the writing standards, the reading standards, and the art standards to pull this kind of activity together. So I hope this has spurred some ideas for you. For more ideas like this, join us every week at Education Closet On Demand.